My family and I have always struggled with finances ever since I can remember. We share the property with my grandmother, yet when my stepfather passed away, my mother and I were even more lost in debt. I knew I needed to begin working and providing for myself as college was approaching and those bills were entirely going to be up to myself. I began working at Blossom Hill Clubhouse at the beginning of October. Ever since I began, I've worked constant 5-day weeks. The money I use, I save for college or use on plane or bus tickets. I believe that nothing has connected me more to myself than these spontaneous adventures traveling. This is how and where I met myself. On my first trip alone, I revisited a group of friends I have in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. People here always ask me, why would you ever go to Pennsylvania? What does it have that California doesn't? The answer to this is different experiences, varying cultures, and all sorts of different people. The answer may be nothing to some, but everything to another. It truly depends on the mentality. I love finding multiple answers to this question on my travels. I've been regularly visiting a group of friends in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for the past 4 years. These people I meet over on the other side of the country have showed me the true Pennsylvania experience. My personal favorite was a long drive through some of the close Amish towns, as well as their camping trip last summer, which ended up being less than 15 minutes away from my family's rented beach house in Rehoboth Beach in Delaware. One of my favorite parts of the East Coast is how close every state is to the other. We went to 3 different states together in a matter of days. These people also introduced me to more of their amazing friends, who some I have talked to on a daily basis since this trip. One of the girls they introduced me to, Taylor, I bonded with so much. She and I talk every single day, even if it's for a short amount of time. She loves to travel as well and is very outgoing and adventurous. Our friendship is so tightly knit that the distance has a hard time interfering. This July, Taylor is even staying with my family and I in Delaware for the entire week. This year, I took several buses and trains throughout Northern and Southern California to visit friends I have scattered throughout the entire state. These rides were long, but I always enjoyed the conversations I'd have with all different people I'd meet. When taking the bus down to Los Angeles, I met these 2 girls from Alabama. We talked for hours on that 8-hour bus ride. The girls had been dating for over 2 years and had taken their first out-of-state trip together to Hawaii. To make expenses more affordable, they bused from San Jose to LAX airport. I am unsure of their exact intentions with this bus ride, but it didn't matter. Morgan and Caitlin were 2 of the most amazing people I'd ever come across while traveling. The most intriguing thing about their trip together was their one rule, which was absolutely no phones. The 2 played I Spy, crosswords, other games, and looked through their Hawaii photos together on their camera to pass their time. It was just simply something I rarely saw on my long trips, as most people invest themselves into their screens. These girls and I talk often, and they offered me a place to stay if I ever find myself in Alabama. When I visited Seattle this February, my friend and I stayed with Sandra Bullock and Margaret Cho's ex-boyfriend. His name was Jeffrey, and he was one of the nicest people I've ever came across. My friend began to talk to him about his past as a UC Berkeley professor, while I talked to his current wife for hours on end about the life she lived in Washington. She was very curious about people in our state, and asked me several questions about California as a whole. She was very kind to me, and even offered me a free place to stay next time in Seattle. We still text every now and then with small updates on our different paths. Our interactions are small, yet they always brighten me up. Currently, I have friends in over 3 different countries and over 33 different states. Some are mutual friends I have yet to meet, some have migrated, and some have just luckily been in the same pinpoint in the world as me at the exact same time. These people I meet are the true adventure themselves. I learn all sorts of new things from each different person. Crossing paths with all these different individuals is something truly indescribable. I'll never be able to letter together my true emotions towards it. Everyone who crosses your path does so for a reason. They're either something you learn from, or someone you find a liking to and connect with. When I went to tour CSU Fullerton down in Los Angeles, I went to a small get-together with several different musicians and actors. These people introduced me to their passions. One freestyled on the piano, while another showed me trailers to movies that he had previously starred in. I felt insignificant to these people until they asked me what had brought me to Los Angeles. I told them how I was exploring my options of universities for my path towards my future college degree. When I told them I loved writing, they changed my perspective. At first, I felt as if being a writer wasn't much in comparison to these people. However, they convinced me that none of their careers would even exist without words. The most beautiful thing about traveling to me has never been about changes in the weather or a difference in scenery. It's always been about learning more about the differing ways of life all over the world, and finding out more about myself along the way too. Traveling has taught me plenty about the world and myself, but the best thing I've learned from all these different people in different places is that time will never age you the same way experience will.